Why do you support Trump?
Um, Man, I mean, he aligns with my values more often than I would say most Democrats, being, abortion topics, immigration topics, homosexuality topics, and the like.
Okay. What's wrong with being gay?
Man, ooh, what's wrong with being gay? I don't really
Yeah.
know if I want to get into religion here, but it's just definitely not the prescription for society in general, I would say.
Why?
I mean, we can talk about, reproductive stuff, or we can just talk about, degeneracy in general. But I just don't think that being gay is something that we should, want to see, in society.
Okay. So, do you think it's wrong for a man to marry an infertile woman,
No.
but like they can't have kids through intercourse?
Yeah. So I mean, that's true. But I would say that there's, you know, you could. Are you making the argument then that just choosing not to have kids would also could be wrong?
No, no, that's your argument.
No. I mean,
You
I
said
also
you said
said it's not what you
reproduction.
want.
So,
Yeah. I also said
is
it's
there
not what
something
you
wrong with
want
two
to.
men kissing?
I mean, according to what? To you? No.
No, to
To
you.
me, I wouldn't. I would say you wouldn't really want to, see that either. I mean,
Wait, what's
sinful,
wrong with two
whatever.
men kissing under your view?
I mean, the homosexual acts would be, I guess, what would be wrong under my view.
So is kissing wrong?
I guess that would be a homosexual act, so I guess it would be.
Okay. So, and what makes you think it's wrong for two men to kiss?
I don't know. God would say that would be wrong. God says a lot of
God,
things are
where
wrong,
in the
though.
Bible does it say that two men kissing is wrong?
I mean, it talks about if a man lays with a man. Now you're talking about
Wait,
kissing. I
so
mean,
having sex and kissing are the same thing?
no, having sex and kissing are not the same thing.
So
But
where
there's
does
a
it
lot
say
of
in the
stuff it
Bible that
doesn't
it's
say in the
wrong for two
Bible.
men to kiss?
There's a lot of things that it doesn't say in the Bible. It doesn't mean that the Bible lists every single
Yeah,
thing
for
that's
example, it
wrong.
doesn't say that a father having sex with his daughter is wrong. But it lists every other form of incest is wrong, but just not father-daughter.
No, you're right, but I guess, and I mean, I don't even think you believe this. Just because the Bible doesn't say something's wrong, is it means like, if it doesn't, that means it's not wrong.
Well, I'm not Christian. All right, but like you have no basis for saying that it's wrong utilizing the Bible if you're saying that there's no Bible verse for it. So why is it wrong for two men to kiss?
It's still considered homosexual. I mean, it'd still be considered homosexuality. I mean, maybe not the actual part of homosexuality, but I mean, I could try and find other examples where,
Yeah, but like if you have
you're
nothing in the Bible or your religious text that says anything other than the sexual intercourse is wrong, then you can't claim anything other than the sexual intercourse is wrong without just superimposing some sort of secular reasoning. Then if you don't have secular reasoning, then what do you have? Just five?
tribes. Like, I mean,
You
would you
just
then? I
feel
mean,
like two men kissing is wrong?
well, I mean, it would be wrong, if two men got married, probably even according to the Bible. Let's say they never had sex though,
Yeah, what's wrong
right?
with
So,
two men getting married?
I mean, marriage is supposed to be a union between a man and a woman. I mean, there's no
Where
verse
in
in
the
the
Bible
Bible.
does
You're
it
right.
say only between a man and a woman?
I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, you know this too. I think you're just
No,
someone being
I know that
facetious.
there are verses in the Bible that describe a man and a woman being joined together in marriage as one flesh, but not that it says prescriptively that everyone should only do men and women. It never says anywhere in the Bible that it's wrong for two
That a
women to
lot
get
of the
married.
Bible, there's a lot, because like for example, the Bible describes the character of God in lots of different ways. It doesn't say this is this. This is. There's a lot that you can read the Bible and you can interpret, or you can actually see. This is just like the character of what the Bible is getting at. Like, what do you think that verse means then?
What specific verse?
What you're referencing? What you're referencing? What do you think that it means?
Yeah, which specific verse?
Yeah, you're talking about man and women joining in union. Why do you think the Bible would go out of the way to use such a language and not just say when two people are to
All it
join in
does is
union?
describe that a man and a woman join together in marriage, not that men and women ought to only be the ones to join together in marriage. Okay,
Why would the
so
Bible
that's
say
one
that?
thing, and then two, I would also say like there's a few things we can say with this. One, we can say there's not even an argument from Christianity to even prescribe that being gay is wrong, and then two, we can also say that there's no argument to say Christianity is true to even say that because of Christianity that being gay is wrong because of Christianity.
Okay, well, there is definitely, the Christianity would prescribe being gay as wrong. I mean, and I mean,
I don't even
talking
accept
about
that.
as a man lies with a woman being an abomination, a man as lies
What
with a
verse
woman
is
being
that?
an abomination. To be honest, I don't have my Bible in front of me, and I wouldn't want to swipe out to
You're
just look it
referencing
up.
Leviticus. Do you know what Leviticus 25:44 through 46 says?
I can actually go see if I could get a
Yeah,
Bible. In the New
Leviticus
Testament
25,
speaks on this
44
too.
through 46 explicitly defines that you can own people as slaves
Yeah, I mean, if you want to
and
look at the
pass
New
them down
Testament,
to your children as inherited property for life.
there's definitely anti-homosexuality verses in the New Testament as well. I would have to, go look that up. But
And I think that those, right, have a lack of certainty in the meaning that even describe that it's wrong to engage in gay intercourse in the first place. And even so, even if it does say that gay intercourse is wrong, it doesn't say, right, all forms of intercourse are wrong. And it also doesn't describe specifically marriage or kissing or anything like that, a relationship, romantic relationship, to be wrong.
I mean, I could potentially even. I mean, I wonder why or what your basis of trying to get at the kissing part is. Because if I granted that, oh man, okay, two men kissing, whatever, and then I would say, okay, would you then say that the homosexuality is wrong? You'd still say no. So what's your point in trying to get me to say that like the Bible doesn't say anything about two men kissing?
Well, I'm just saying that you don't have an argument from either basis. You can choose to argue either basis, but the point I would say is that either way you try to, it's going to be wrong.
Okay, so why would you say it's right or it should be allowed? Because couldn't I make the argument?
Why should being gay be allowed?
No, hold on. The argument you're making for pro-gay, could I not make for incest? It's not harmful to anybody potentially, and it doesn't wouldn't result in children with deformities, etc. I could make a similar argument to why you would be okay with homosexuals for incest couples.
Okay, so hold up. Let me just clarify real quick. You think that incest should be viewed the same as being gay?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying from your view, I'm saying why.
So you're saying an internal criticism of my view would be that you could say that, oh, what could I say is wrong with incest? Well, I could describe plenty of things, right? One, the specific, the fact that you grow up in the same sort of household condition, right? We could say that is wrong. We could say it's wrong to have a close enough biological relation. That could be something that we describe as wrong. We could point to countless things.
Why would you say that's wrong if it's not causing people harm and it's two consenting adults? I guess is what I'm even trying to put to you.
We would say that inevitably would limit the ability to make a consenting sort of decision.
How so? Let's say they're the same age. There's no power dynamic one over another. Like, I mean, I could definitely find a situation and when I'm like, how are you even going to say that?
Okay, so wait, hold up. Just to clarify, you're saying, so the criticism here, let me just say, is like, because you couldn't say a reason, that means that you specifically can't say it's wrong. Is that what it is?
No, I'm trying to understand. Like, if I asked you why homosexuality should be allowed, you're saying, oh, because why not? And you could give me a bunch of reasons. You could say they love each other. You say they're adults, they can make their own decisions. And I'm saying
you would have to be able to make an argument for the fact that it wouldn't be allowed, because you're making a legal argument.
I'm making a legal and a moral argument, right? Because we're not, this wouldn't be a legal argument if we're talking about Christianity or the Bible at all, right?
Yeah, you're making a moral argument that because you just feel like it, that therefore it's wrong, right? That's your moral argument. And you're saying you justify that by providing a case of emotivism specifically. Well, it doesn't seem like you know what emotivism is, but you're trying to make a claim that because you wouldn't have a specific reason to say that incest is wrong, isolating for all these factors for why we would consider incest wrong. Is that the argument?
Well, sure, yeah. Well, let's go with that because, I mean, the reason why you would support homosexuality is just because people should be able to do what they want to do, right?
I can't deem anything wrong with it. And that I don't have an intuition against it.
Okay,
there's no basis for having an intuition against it.
Does that matter to you, having intuition against it? Because
yes.
Isn't intuition just a feeling or an inkling towards something?
Yes, I mean, I think that that's going to be something that is going to matter to some extent, right, within the way that I'm going to view it.
When lots of people, I guess I can't say most, but when probably almost 40 to 50% of people have an intuition against two men, sleeping together being wrong, what does that matter in your mind?
I think that that's not their actual intuition. I think that's an like their true intuition. It's more their socialized intuition.
How would you be able to make a difference?
I think because you can have conversation and reduce it down. Push the galaxy.
But so I guess that would just have to be case by case basis.
Do you think it would be easier to convince someone that it's not wrong to be gay than it is to say that it's not wrong to have incest? I think it would be a lot easier to convince someone wrong.
This is just
wait. Let me just clarify. I think it'd be a lot easier to convince someone that it's not wrong to be gay than to say that it's not wrong to have incest.
No, of course, I think incest is wrong. What I'm trying to say is I think your argument for why it's okay to be gay is just because it's not harming anybody or because, your intuition is for it. I'm just saying there could be a lot of
I'm going to be I'm going to be able to show them that it conflicts with their true personal values. I think that their views specifically on gay people are predicated mainly off of religious norms. What's
Do you
up?
care about other people's personal values if it, it goes against yours? Like if the whole society turned against, people being gay, and it was like a vast majority of people that were against it, and their intuition was against it, you would still say it's still something that you should want to see in society.
Well, my perspective is based on my intuition, not others.
Yeah, well, I know, but you're okay. So I understand it's not about like the majority or the percentage, but like if it's just my view versus yours, and it's just about intuition, who's to say whose intuition is correct?
Well, from each other's perspective, it's going to be indexed to our own views. So I can give words to describe specifically why my view is going to be true in typical circumstances, or to why it could be convincing, but we might not be able to come to a resolution on who's right in the scenario, right? Specifically, in terms of something that could be independent of each other that could define this.
Yeah, because isn't right just based on like the majority in society, and we vote on things with
No,
laws and
no,
stuff?
no, no, no. What's right is dependent on your own perspective and your own determination.
Yes, but we also have to make, judgments for society of what we want to see in society and what is right, and then we just, go with that.
Yeah, and obviously all of those are going to be predicated off of our own personal values. Even if you hold from a religious perspective, you don't believe that just because something's sinful, it should be illegal. There are certain things you think should be illegal, certain things you don't think should be illegal. That's not fully defined by your religious views, so you inevitably have to define those based upon personal values, irrespective of your religious views.
I would say that, but I mean, if you could, and we're not going to be able to do this here. In fact, it probably would never happen, until we died. If you could actually prove Christianity to be 100% true, then it would actually just be from your religious views, because you can really filter everything through your religious views. You could do that.
I disagree, and also I think that I can prove Christianity false.
I mean, it would be hard to prove Christianity 100% false or 100% true. Obviously,
I don't think so.
Same with proving God false. You
Do
couldn't.
you want me to give you a
100%.
simple argument?
Okay.
Okay. Do you think God is perfect, the Christian God?
Yes, God is perfect.
Is all things considered something perfect better than all things considered something not perfect?
Hold on. I think you're just trying to twist me up. What does that mean? Can you walk through that?
Taking all things in consideration of that exist. If all things that exist, taking all into consideration, is perfect, is that better than taking all things in consideration what is in existence is not perfect?
Hold on. All things that exist are not perfect, though.
I'm not asking a question of whether or not this is true. I'm asking a question of, given that this is true, is it better or is it worse? So I'll ask the question one more time. A condition where everything within existence is perfect, is that better than a condition where everything within existence is not perfect?
So I guess I'm trying. I think I might be getting ahead. I'm trying to understand what the point of this question is. I think obviously the first one would be
Is perfection
true.
more desirable than imperfection?
Yes.
Okay. So if we have something where all things in existence is perfect, or we have something where all things in existence, right, take all of it in consideration, it's not perfect, which is preferable?
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. Probably actually the second one, because you wouldn't want just everything to be perfect, no one to have their own opinions, everyone just to be, perfect.
Oh God.
Hold on,
You
can we,
just said
Google-
perfection is better than imperfection. Perfection means flawless.
Yes, we'll never get perfection.
Imperfection
though.
means that they have flaws. Having flaws is worse than not having flaws, right? Jessica, thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
but
appreciate it. Thank
just
you
the
for
way that
Canyon.
we are created is that we're just going to have
Yeah,
flaws.
I don't want to hear all this extra nonsense. I want you to respond directly because there's a bunch of cognitive dissonance here I have to work through. So can you just engage with the specific point? Is perfection preferable to imperfection?
Yes.
Okay. So if we were to look at there's two states of existence. One state of all existence. Say there's one universe and another universe. One universe, there is everything within that universe is perfect. Nothing within that universe is imperfect. The other universe, there are some things within the universe that you could deem from an individual basis are perfect, other things that are not perfect. All things considered, though, it's not perfect. Which is preferable? The
just
first
gonna liken
universe
this
or the
to-
second universe?
I'm gonna liken this to like a heaven situation versus an earth situation, because I think that could be actually pretty on par with what you're saying. I'd say the first one's preferable.
So the perfection is preferable to imperfection.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So God existing alone prior to all creation. God was perfect, right? All
Yes.
things in existence when God exists alone are perfect. Okay? God has a choice to choose to create the world or to not create the world. Okay? What are the two options? The two options are you stay in existence where it's God alone, or you move to existence where it's God plus creation. Creation is not perfect. There are flaws within creation. There are sins, right? There's a bunch of evil that exists in the world we live in. So creation is not perfect. Okay, so there's a choice between no creation and creation. If creation is imperfect, necessarily in the long run, and no creation is perfect, that means no creation is desirable to creation, because perfection is desirable over imperfection. And to say
This is
that
not an
God
analogous
desired
situation,
to
but I'll let you
create
continue.
over to not create would to logically entail a contradiction. To say that a perfect God desired to create an imperfect state of affairs
You're trying to
over
reason from your
over a
human
preferable perfect state of
You're trying
affairs.
to put God in a box, is what you're doing. But I'll engage
Of
with
logic?
it.
You mean of reason?
Yeah, because you actually can't logically explain.
You see
God
what I
either.
mean? So like you inevitably have to reduce your position down to your position is not logical and can't be explained using
Well,
logic.
how would you be able to logically explain God?
Yeah, how
Parker?
can you logically explain this? Exactly.
You
Without
can't, because
contradiction, you can't.
how would an ant
How do you
logically be able to
logically explain
a
this
human
without
being?
contradiction? You can't. That's the issue.
Parker, we don't. God
That's
is
actually
above.
that's literally the reason why I'm bringing this up as an issue is because you can logically disprove the existence of the Christian God that is perfect, because a perfect God cannot possibly exist if we exist in a world where there are imperfections, where there's sin.
That's just our human brains trying to.
No, that's
explain God the way
logic.
you
That is
understand.
logic. It's not just my human brain, it's
You
logic.
cannot logically. How would you logically?
It's like
be able
1
to
plus
explain
1 equals
miracles,
2.
Parker?
That's what it's like.
1 plus 1 is equal to
Yeah,
2 is
if
not
Christianity
work for God. That
logically,
works for
wait, if
God is
Christianity,
outside
like
of
this is your
system.
argument. This is your argument. If in the Bible it said 1 plus 1 equals 3, okay? In the same sense of the terms we're using 1, 2, and 3, okay? If in the Bible it said that, you'd have to say, yes, that's actually true. We can't logically explain this, but it's true because God claimed it. And everything God says is true. That's what you'd have to say. You'd have to say that. Because again, you can't logically explain these things. That would have to be your explanation. Do you see how absurd that would be?
All I'm trying to say is you cannot apply human logic to a supernatural being. Parker.
You can't apply, it's not human logic, it's just logic.
Well,
It's not
obviously
just
logic
for
comes from
humans. Like
humans.
there can alien species could use logic. Do you agree?
Well,
So it's not
aliens
just
don't
human
exist,
logic,
Parker.
it's logic in general.
Yeah, but coming from humans, obviously, because we're
A
the only
human's
creation that
analysis
we
of
know.
logic, but what is wrong with the logical analysis that is made? It logically follows that it's literally not possible for God to create in that condition.
But Parker, again, we're talking about a supernatural being outside of space and time. How can you apply what we know in our small human brains compared to what God's overall plan is for everybody? You just couldn't do it.
Because I can determine that 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay?
Yes, that's.
I can
God is
determine
not
that
a math
squared circles
equation.
can exist. I can determine
God
that A
is-
equals A. So
God
although
is
I'm
not a
not
math
all-knowing, I can determine whether something is logical or illogical. And I've clearly determined, based upon a very clear argument here, that it's illogical. If your whole basis for response is, oh, us human beings can't make determinations on things, well then why are you even making a determination of who you support in the first place, or what religious prescription you believe in the first place? You're a human being. You can't make those determinations. Let Jesus take the wheel.
Well, obviously, no matter what we do, that will be the case. But I guess what I'm trying. I mean, you're never gonna. I mean,
So
it's
why
okay, you're
even
not-
why even look into any of these topics in the first place?
What do you mean? Do you think God created us not to question anything? He just created us just to, what? I mean, obviously, you don't. I mean,
I don't
even know,
believe I don't believe in the Christian God. I think that's nonsense.
Do you believe in God? Any
No.
God? Any creation at all?
I think it's possible for there to be some notion of a God that existed, but it can't be a perfect notion of God. It can't be any of the notions of God of the Abrahamic religions, because they have a perfect notion of God. It's literally logically impossible. Now, like, I can understand that you're like, oh, I want to believe this because it makes me feel good. It gives me a good feeling for, like, explaining what's life after death or whatever. It makes me feel good about that, right? I can understand that from, like, an emotional perspective, okay? But I don't reasonably, I can't explain it. It makes no sense. It's illogical, right?
Yeah, I know.
But
and
I don't think you're, like, a
gonna have
bad
to agree
person
to-
for believing this. I might understand
listen,
even
I mean-
why, like, emotionally you feel the need to, like, cling to
It's
things
fair
like this.
enough.
I can
Neither one
understand
of
it
us
as a
are-
coping mechanism.
Neither one of us are going to be able to change each other's position on this because I think
I
what
should
you're
be able
trying
to
do-
change your position on this if you were
You're trying-
reasonable.
But you're trying to do a 1 plus 1 equals 2 to God when I'm
Yes,
just.
yes,
that-
it should
I'm
be
sorry,
able to apply.
logic-
Yes,
logic
literally.
Logic ceases to have application when you're talking about, outside
No, it
of
doesn't.
the human.
No, it doesn't.
God
okay,
is outside
okay, how about
of
this?
human
God is all
thought.
powerful. Can God create a rock that's so heavy that he can't pick it up?
No,
Why not?
because.
So you're saying he's not all powerful?
You're talking about some. Okay, like even the statement contradicts what you're saying.
Oh, wait, so are you saying God can't do logically impossible things? Ooh,
Again, God
that's going
doesn't
to be an
apply to
issue. Wait, can God do logically impossible things?
Okay, can God do logically impossible things? The only reason why we even have a notion of what's logically impossible is because God has given this to us.
Wait, no, answer the question. Can God do logically impossible things?
Well, from our perspective, no, he definitely cannot. Like, I mean,
No. Overall, outside of our perspective, just considering all things considered, can God do that? Can God make illogical things?
the reason why I say from our
Can
perspective
God
is
create a
because
squared circle?
because
No.
this is
Okay, so
human
God can't do
these are
illogical
human
things.
concepts.
So your argument here now is God can't do illogical things. So the argument I already provided to you earlier is that it would be illogical for God to create the world because the world in creation in of itself is imperfect. And if perfection is more desirable than imperfection, then it is literally logically impossible for God to desire to create something that is less desirable.
Let me only correct something that you said. God created the world and it was 100% perfect. Humans messed it up. Now, he didn't know this was going to happen, but God did not create the world.
He didn't know that this was going to happen, then he's not all-knowing.
No, he did know it was going to happen. Are you
Okay,
saying that
so think about it this way. He know that's going to happen. Okay, so there's the choice between no creation, where everything's perfect, or creation, where everything will inevitably be imperfect. So the condition is still the same. It's still that God would desire to stay where he exists alone, in perfection, over deciding to create, which inevitably would yield imperfection. Even if it's human beings' choice, it inevitably entails imperfection. The fact that they would even be able to make a choice based upon their own internal character, right, that is imperfect, would logically necessitate that their creator is imperfect.
Hold on, God wanting to have a relationship with his imperfect creation does not make him any less perfect. You
couldn't it literally logically necessitates that. I have to explain that to you. I literally have explained that to you repeatedly. If he decides to create, that means he's imperfect.
No, it does not.
Because his existence in of itself, if he was perfect, would be more desirable than the world we exist in, where there's sin, there's flaws, there's evil, and things are imperfect. Because God plus creation is imperfect. God existing alone is perfect. Okay, so the clear answer here for what's more desirable. Okay, listen. You agreed perfection is more desirable than imperfection, right?
Yes, but
okay, God existing alone is perfect, right?
God is perfect. We are imperfect. God created.
Yeah. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear all this extra stuff. I just want you to run. Can I run through? Trust me. I'm going to run through my argument. I'll let you explain everything you have on top. I've let you explain. I just want to run through this argument fully. Okay. So God existing alone is perfect, right?
Man, we've already gone through this. Okay, you want me to say it again? Yes.
This will make it really clear. Yes. God plus creation is imperfect, right?
God plus creation. I think this is actually where I probably should push back, because this is where like the crux of it is. God plus creation is imperfect. We are as creation now imperfect through our own choices. Now, God knowing that we're going to make a choice.
There you go. God plus creation is imperfect.
Okay. This just makes it easier for you to understand. Okay, sure.
No. It makes it easier for you to understand. So now you just conceded because creation in of itself is imperfect. That means God plus creation is imperfect, because imperfect means that there are any flaws. If there's any flaw, that means it's imperfect. Perfection means flawless. So if there's flaws within creation, that means God plus creation is imperfect, okay? You already agreed. Perfection more desirable than imperfection. So how could you say God plus creation is more desirable than God existing alone if God is perfect and God plus creation is imperfect, if you've already agreed that perfection is more desirable than imperfection?
Because you're trying to argue God from the human limits.
So you go back to saying logic breaks down, doesn't make sense. And then I'll ask you, can God do logically impossible things? You'll say no. Okay, if God can't do logically impossible things, then a perfect God couldn't create an imperfect creation.
This is the only reason why we determine something logically impossible, is because we have it set up, and it makes sense for us, and it works for us. That there are some things that just cannot be done because it's just contradicting in our minds, right? But God's mind, I say mind, is outside of human space, human time. God can do things that we as humans just don't understand. You don't believe this, obviously, but a human being rising from the dead would be logically impossible.
So then what's wrong with God creating a rock that's so heavy he can't pick it up?
He wouldn't be able to not pick something up. Like God being present, omnipotent, omnipowerful, all these things.
So what's the problem with God creating a rock that's so heavy that he can't pick it up? If he's all powerful, he should be able to create said rock, right?
Well, God cannot do anything that's outside of his nature and character. I can explain this.
You mean that's logically contradictory to his nature?
Hold on, Parker.
You mean like desiring something that's less desirable?
Does God have the ability to sin, Parker?
No.
Okay, so obviously you're not a Christian and you don't even believe it, but if I was to ask you, pretend to be a Christian for a second, would that be logically incongruent that he's not able to sin?
Yeah, if you sin, that would be a logical contradiction. He couldn't do that. So I agree. If you have your perspective, you have to be able to say that God cannot do logically impossible things. If you say that, then you have to concede to my argument that God could not choose to create. Because again, it is imperfect. God plus creation is imperfect. God existing alone is perfect. The obvious answer here is that God existing alone is more desirable than God plus creation. If that's true, then
Well,
God could never
this
have
could be true
desired
that God
to
exists.
create over to not create. Okay,
Obviously, it
I'm done
depends
with
on
this
what God's
conversation.
plan.
Is that, do you want to talk about abortion? I don't think that you're going to get this point. I think that inevitably
could
this breaks
definitely.
down to you having cognitive dissonance, and you're never going to be able to change your mind on this because it makes you feel good. Okay, we can
To
just
be
move on
honest,
from
like
that.
I don't think I can actually get you to change your mind on anything, no matter who
Because
I
this
was
is a
either.
clear contradiction, and I'm not going to concede on logic, my guy. I
Okay,
can't make
well,
sense of anything without
we can
logic.
do abortion, but if you're just gonna do the whole brain dead, patient Dean thing that he does,
No,
then
I'll
we can
give you a
just
whole
skip that
separate
too.
argument. Watch this. So, if I could prove to you that voting for Democrats would save more human lives, would you support Democrats?
Okay, so in voting for Democrats, what else would I be voting for besides just saving human lives? Because could they turn around in a different way, unalive them besides abortion? I'm trying to figure out
I
what
just
you're.
want to answer the question. If I could prove to you that Democrats would save more lives than Republicans if you were to vote for Democrats, would you then vote for Democrats?
If you could prove to me somehow beyond the shadow of a doubt that voting for Democrats would somehow save human lives. Well, this is first of
As
all, I
opposed
guess,
to the Republicans.
man, you're just trying to get me with these like hypothetical because I'm just trying to figure out, because obviously there's a right and wrong answer. If I answer yes, you're going to say somehow this ties into me not believing in abortion, but I'll go with saying yes because I'm trying to figure out where you're getting at. Sure, I'd like to save lives if possible.
So you would vote for Democrats?
If it could, I mean, let's just make it like this. If voting for Democrats, got rid of abortion, that'd be a lot more preferable to me. Sure, let's go with that.
That's not the question I asked you. I asked you if
I
I
mean, to
could
me, it's the
prove
same
to
thing.
you,
Getting rid of abortion is
if I
saving
could prove
lives.
to you that voting for Democrats would save more lives as opposed to voting for Republicans, would you support Democrats? Would you vote for Democrats?
Sure, yeah, I'll say yes.
Okay. So Donald Trump and Doge through cut USAID, which will lead to 14 million people dying by 2030, according to a Lancet study. So if you voted for Democrats rather than voting for Republicans, then you would have saved millions more lives.
First of all, we're just taking this study on face value, assuming what the future is going to hold without us actually knowing. And also, what does that have to do with abortion?
Assume a 50% margin of error, which would be ridiculous. You're still saving millions more lives than anything you could attribute to Trump.
Hold on, I'm just failing to see what this has to do with abortion.
The reason why you care about making abortion illegal is because you want to save human lives, right?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's I don't know what I'm allowed to say on this. A lot of people say unaliving. I mean, I've seen that you said murder before, so I'll just say I believe it's just murdering the unborn and babies or whatever. So I believe that's
But
not
your
preferable at all.
goal when wanting to make abortion illegal is wanting to save human lives, right?
Obviously, save babies. Let them live.
Yeah.
Not
So
unalive
then,
them.
if
Yeah.
your goal inevitably within doing that is to save human lives, then if I can prove to you that Democrats will save more human lives if you vote for them as opposed to Republicans, then that hits your very reason why you wanted to make abortion illegal. So then you should support Democrats over Republicans. Like that's the
Hold on,
logical conclusion if that's your goal
But if I'm
when you're
supporting
voting
Democrats, I
for
am also
legislation
supporting
relating to abortion.
But it's all what you're talking about would be canceled out anyways, because in supporting Democrat is supporting abortion.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if the notion of cancel out, that would mean you wouldn't vote. But you're voting for the harm reduction view, right?
No, hold on. I don't only believe in abortion.
You're voting for the harm reduction view, right?
I'd like to talk about abortion in kind of just at abortion, not what else you think that it might talk about. Like, can you make an argument against abortion other than just a different hypothetical?
You asked me when I first started to ask a different argument other than the brain dead argument, which would be specifically addressing abortion. I give you a separate argument. Now you're asking me again to give you a different argument?
Because you haven't actually. This isn't even an argument for abortion. This is just a harm reduction, thing.
I understand, and that's exactly what you're deciding to vote on when you vote for your views. Let me give you an example. Does Donald Trump want to make all abortion access illegal or federally? No, he wants to leave it up to the states. So you disagree with him allowing for legal abortion, depending on the state that you're in, but you think it's the harm reduction view, and that's why you support Trump, okay?
Well,
So I'm like 5 steps apparently ahead of you, because you didn't realize that yourself about your own view.
No, I mean, first of all, you can say all this, but you believe, that I mean, you even within abortion, you don't believe that abortion is murder, anyways.
Of course not. Why would I?
Well, you say, why would you? Because
But
when I mean, like,
you can consider it murder, and you would still have to concede to this argument. That's the issue. Is that I
okay, so
found an
hold
argument
on. If I
that
concede
would
to the argument
literally
and say I would
the
vote
argument that I
Democrat, what does that
found.
have to do with
Wait, the
abortion?
argument that I found here essentially means that you don't even have to concede the pro-life view to acknowledge that Harris is the preferable candidate. That's how good of an argument I found here.
Well, hold on. Harris is not the preferable candidate only because she does support abortion.
Wait, that just doesn't make any sense because you would say, oh, it's because you're going to save more lives by voting for Trump. Is that your argument?
Also, I do not
Is your
have a glass
argument? Wait,
ball.
wait, wait. Trump supports abortion access. He thinks it should be legal depending on the state.
Because that's an extreme. Like he's also.
Oh,
playing the
okay. Wait,
game.
so if he supports legal abortion access, then you must be against him, right?
Well, there is no candidate that I think that
Oh,
exists
so you're
that-
now arguing for the harm reduction view.
No, you're voting. Well, obviously, what you're doing is voting for the lesser of two evils. There's no
Oh,
perfect
that's the
candidate.
harm reduction view. That's
Well,
what
there's no
lesser of
perfect
two
candidate,
evils
Parker.
means. That's the
There's
harm
no
reduction view.
perfect candidate, Parker. Do you
Okay,
believe
yeah,
in a perfect
exactly.
candidate?
You're voting for the harm. I'm like a million steps ahead of you, and I have to explain to you all the steps you're taking. Okay, so that is my point.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm not really.
You're
willing
taking
to
the harm
concede-
reduction view. If you're taking the harm reduction view, then if I can show you that you will save more lives by voting for Harris than you will by voting for
Also,
Trump,
I don't think
then
your
wait,
one
wait, wait.
independent
If I can
study is
prove
gonna
to
prove
you
to me
that you support you will save more lives by supporting Harris over Trump, then you have to concede if you hold the harm reduction view that you will support Harris over Trump. Can I
Hold
get
on
a
a minute, but, like,
concession?
No, because hold on. Would I save more lives in the next year, or only by 2030?
Within the next year.
Hold on, but you said this whole thing was by 2030 in some
Yes.
independent study, right? So
Yes.
how many lives would I save voting Democrat in a year?
You would save. You can count those up by the years, divided by 4. What's 14
Okay, so
point?
give me a
what's-
number. What would you say?
It's 14 million divided by 4, sir.
What we're talking about? 3 point something.
It's
right?
it's probably like 3.8, I'm assuming.
Okay, and also, I mean, are we just all just like everybody in the chat? Everyone just concedes to what you're saying. We have a glass ball. We just know that this is just true. What you said.
Yes, according to a Lancet study.
There's been so many studies all over the place. There's been lots of studies that can prove that
I'm hearing a lot of
biological human
coping.
life begins at conception. You don't.
I'm hearing a lot of coping.
I'm hearing that like you cited a study. There's other studies that would prove
Yeah.
you wrong.
There's not
What
a
do you mean?
single study that proves me wrong.
There are lots of studies that show that life.
This is
begins
the
at
first study of its
conception.
kind,
Do you-
genius.
Would you like to concede?
This is the first study of its kind on USAID, genius. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, would you like to concede that biological human life begins at conception? And we can go from there.
I agree human life does begin at conception. Can I get
But you
can I
don't-
get a concession that if you hold the harm reductionist view, that you're going to support the candidate that leads to the least amount of or the most amount of lives saved?
No, because I just reject.
No?
It. I think that
What is the
Because
harm
I-
reduction view?
I don't believe what you're saying about 14 million lives saved by.
So you don't
2030.
believe? So what's wrong with the Lancet study?
I don't know anything about the Lancet study, but here's the thing: we can't just
Okay, so then why are you saying
look at
that it's
no-
wrong or incorrect in its determinations?
because we don't know that to be the case either way.
Okay, but what's
Hold on, I
wrong
know
with the
what's happening-
methodology?
I know what's happening in society today, and there are numbers today, for example, even right this second baby's being aborted. I'd like to help those babies right now. If there was
Yeah,
legislation
and there are
passed
people
over-
right now that are losing access to the necessary funds they required to survive because of the fact that the Doge cut USAID funding. There are people who
Yeah,
are
hold on,
dying
you don't
right now
die-
because
you
of
don't
this.
die instantly from that. You do die.
Yeah,
instantly
wait,
from
there are
abortion.
people. Yes, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there has been. The reason why that's true is because there were specifically people that relied on necessary care, medication they were getting from USAID, that when it was cut, they died. They literally already died. There are people that have died already because of this. Please, you have to acknowledge this. Please look into it
No, I'm
without.
saying-
Please,
obviously there
wait,
have been
wait,
people
hold,
that
hold
have
up.
died.
But if you actually care about saving human lives, you should look into this before just claiming this random misinformation bullshit. Okay, what I'm telling you is actually relevant to saving millions of people's lives. I'm not just bringing this up as a TikTok point. I'm bringing this up because I genuinely care about the fact that those 14 million lives will be lost by 2030. It's
But
truly
I also-
sick that you completely overlook that.
I think we could do both then. Why don't we, vote for
Well,
Democrats? Oh my gosh,
again, not
save these
everything's
lives.
perfect. You're voting for the harm reduction view. You're voting for the lesser of two evils. If I can prove to you
It's
that
fine. I'll vote for
Harris,
the.
wait, if I'm proving to you right now that Harris will save more lives than Trump, then you should support Harris. That's your view. You hold the harm
Okay, I
reductionist
would only
view. If
support
you don't
Harris in
hold
the
the harm
fact.
reductionist view and you hold things based on disqualifications, if a disqualification for your view is literally believing in legal access to abortion, then Trump is disqualified
That's
from getting
fine.
your
If I
then
voted for
Trump is
Harris,
disqualified from getting your vote. Why? Because he believes there should be legal access to abortion depending on the
if
state.
I if in voting for Harris, I could save those lives, and then I also could somehow convince her, or anyone else to like also get rid of abortion, that would even be even better. But you wouldn't agree
Oh,
to
okay,
that.
okay, sure. You can think from your own perspective. It would be better if you could possibly convince her, but still, the better position is supporting Harris over Trump.
I mean, if only for saving lives. I mean, like let's say the next election comes, we don't know who the candidates are going to be, but if it was like somehow written on the like fuck things on TV, this person is going to save this many lives, and you knew this to be fact 100%, and it was like numbers over both of their heads, shoot, and let's say it was a vast difference, one saving 100 lives and one saying a million. I'm going to vote for the person that's saving a million lives, no matter what party they're at. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that like I would still support abortion. You can see that, correct?
No, repeat it.
So let's say like let's say the candidates
And Laura,
for
by the
the
way,
next
thank you for the
election.
$5. Actually, here, let me thank some people first. Thank you so much, Mar. Thank you for the dollar as well. Mark, thank you for the $5. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, they'll just say they can account for all those things. But as well as Stacy, thank you for the $10. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, you can. Oh, one more. Jordan, thank you so much for the $50 over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. They said the argument I just made was so rock solid that I did show you love. What is enormously important. You've helped me through the year so far. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Get some W's for Jordan in the comment section right now. That is incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. Alrighty, continue. Go ahead.
I would say obviously saving lives is a great thing, and if you could save exponentially more lives voting for Democrat, that's really good. Now that wouldn't be the only reason why I'd vote for him. I'd still like to see certain things about the living people in our society and their quality of life, and obviously we already talked about one of
You
those
think
things.
you have
That
a
we just
better quality of life if you support Trump? If you voted for Trump?
Well, I mean, like quality of life. I'm just talking about like what we would like to see, generally. Obviously, my actual view for what I'd want to see in the world wouldn't really align with any, candidate because I think there's just too much degeneracy in the world anyways, and I don't think either candidate would actually address that in our lifetimes at
So
all.
that's why, again, I just got you to concede that you're supporting the harm reductionist view. Okay? Because no
No,
one's
that's fine,
perfect. You're
and that's
supporting the
fine.
candidacy that will lead to the least amount of harm.
Sure. And then would you then say, we could, oh man, I become a Democrat. I do that. Now I'm a Democrat that doesn't support abortion at all. Would you even say that I'm a Democrat?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that you're a Democrat, but I would say that you think Democrats are preferable.
I mean, I would say Democrats are preferable only in like this.
I guess you could say
desire
that
to
you're a
save.
Democrat. Yeah, it's technically. Yeah, I mean, yes, there can be people who are pro-life that think that the Democratic Party is preferable. Yes, although I disagree with them on the perspective of them being pro-life, right? Which I mean, I think that's very obvious that I disagree with that. That doesn't mean that they can't be a Democrat. They can still think the Democratic Party is preferable.
So, well,
Because
that's
because
fine.
when
So,
we're talking about politics, we're never going to get a candidate that 100% represents your values. That's just not going to happen. You have to vote for the candidate that mostly represents your values. That's because
yeah, I
we live
know.
in a
And
country with millions of people. We compromise on things.
yeah, obviously. So, okay. So, wow. But like, my values do go a bit beyond just obviously abortion or even the homosexuality thing. I would say in general, I would believe that the Republicans, now it's not going to look like this from your perspective, but it would be, more preferable to passing laws instilling more Christian values than the Democrats. I mean, I
I don't
would
know
just
how
say
you could say that, especially with how the current Republican Party is controlled by Trump.
Oh, I mean, again, yeah, nothing is gonna, align with my values 100%. But like, if I'm looking at each issue individually and I'm making a judgment more or less Christian based on it, like we go, oh, based on homosexuality, I'd say Trump more. Based on
Okay, so
abortion,
is it
oh,
Christian
Trump
to
more.
want to save as many lives as possible?
Yeah, it's Christian. Well, actually, I mean, I wouldn't say it's Christian or non-Christian, but I would say like it would be a
Really?
good thing to want to save as many lives as
Okay, you could say it's
possible.
a good thing to want to save as many lives as possible. So then it's a good thing to support Democrats.
I mean, I would say maybe just because I mean you don't think Republicans want to save a lot of lives too. There's been bills passed. I
Wait.
mean,
Even
what would you
if you want to
say?
point to a certain amount of lives saved by Republicans, there's more lives lost by Republicans in their administration simply just
So
because
hold
of
on, would you then
USAID
say
funding
in
being cut.
abortion,
Wait,
Democrats
wait.
are
I just want to
not
let you know.
trying to save
Simply
lives?
because of USAID funding being cut, that in of itself is enough reason to say that Democrats save more lives. not considering the fact that
Except,
Democrats
I
advocate
mean,
to expand
so
universal
then
access
what
to
would you
healthcare, which
say
would
when it
save a
comes
bunch
to
of lives. Go ahead.
what would you say when when it comes to abortion, Democrats just don't want to save lives? They want to murder them, and then like that's the one point that they don't want to save lives.
Well, I just don't think that these are lives that we would consider. But from your perspective, yes, you would have to hold that view. Does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
again, you don't
Does,
really
like
want to get
you
into
can
it. It
you can
makes
even from
sense.
your listen. You can even from your own perspective acknowledge that, and you can say that yes, Democrats in those positions they want kids to be murdered or whatever, and still that is a preferable view to hold in position of their side than from the Republican standpoint, because you'll save more lives by supporting Democrats.
I wouldn't say it's preferable to like. I mean, like obviously you don't believe this is preferable to be like, wow, well, let's support abortion. That's not preferable to do.
With considering all the other views, all things considered, it's preferable.
Okay, then how about this? I'll just vote as a Republican and disagree that they're not on board with this fucking Doge bill. I can do that
Wait,
too.
but if your whole notion of caring about why you want to make abortion illegal in the first place, which is the reason why you said you support Trump, is that you want to save human lives. Because again, you realize that Trump still wants legal access to abortion, just wants to leave it up to the states. You believe in harm reductionism, therefore that would be the. I can't keep explaining this to you. I can't
I'm
do
just
it.
not gonna, agree that.
If you're just not going to understand it, I can't do anything else to explain it to you. I've given you the argument. There's nothing else I could say to you at this point.
Well, then I appreciate the conversation and how civil it was or whatever. I hope you have a good one.